In the soft glow of a sunrise, Dr. Evelyn Reed stepped into the familiar rhythm of her morning, her steps echoing a quiet purpose. The air was a blend of rich, warm coffee and the distant hum of conversation. Dressed in simple jeans and a linen shirt, she looked like any other person, yet there was an unmistakable intensity in her bearing. For the residents of Ravenwood, Dr. Reed was a regular sight at the Morning Brew every Wednesday. As the CEO of Quantum Dynamics, a company making waves in the world of AI, she was a figure of national acclaim. But here, in this small town, she was simply a neighbor. She settled into her usual spot by the window, her laptop a silent companion, and nodded to Elena, the barista. "The usual?" Elena asked, already reaching for a cup. Evelyn smiled. "And a croissant, please." Mateo, the owner, waved from the back. "Morning, Dr. Reed." She returned his greeting with a raised hand, her eyes already scanning her emails. The subject was a new tech initiative she was funding, a program designed to give underserved youth access to AI education. The project, launched just last week, was already attracting significant interest. She took a sip of her coffee, watching the town slowly awaken outside. The usual morning cast of characters filled the cafe. An elderly professor struggling with his crossword, a young couple laughing over shared muffins. Everything was just as it should be. Then the bell above the door chimed again. 2 police officers entered, Officer Kane and Officer Miller. They walked with a grim purpose, their gaze fixed on Evelyn's table. Kane was a tall, imposing figure with a clenched jaw, while Miller, round-faced and anxious, clutched his clipboard like a shield. The tension was palpable. This was no casual visit. "Ma'am," Kane began, his voice flat as he stopped at her table. "Are you a patron here?" Evelyn's eyebrow arched slightly. "I am." Miller leaned closer, his eyes on her laptop. "Have you paid for that?" "She paid," Elena said sharply from behind the counter. "She always does." Evelyn calmly minimized her screen. "Is there a problem?" "Just a routine check," Kane said, his eyes narrowing. "May I see your receipt?" Evelyn nodded slowly. "I paid with cash." Mateo can confirm. Miller scribbled on his clipboard. "ID, please." She reached into her bag, pulling out her driver's license and business card. Miller glanced at them, then back at her. "Anything with an address." "That's my driver's license," she replied, her voice steady. Kane scanned the room. Every eye in the cafe was on them now. The professor's pen had stopped midair. The young couple had leaned in, their laughter gone. Elena looked furious. Mateo emerged from the back. "She's here every week. You know that." The officers didn't budge. Miller pulled out his notebook again. "Name? Date of birth? Address?" Verbally. Evelyn's voice was unwavering. "Dr. Evelyn Reed, April 3rd. I live on Sycamore Lane." Kane's hand moved toward his radio. Evelyn didn't flinch. She took a slim flip phone from her pocket. "This is being documented." She pressed a single button. Ravenwood Dispatch. A voice came from the phone. "Go ahead." "This is Dr. Evelyn Reed reporting potential unlawful detainment at the Morning Brew," she stated clearly. Officers Kane and Miller. "No cause provided." The cafe was deathly silent. Miller's pen froze. Kane's jaw tensed. "I have paid for my meal," she added. "I'm not causing a disturbance." Kane took a step back. "No need for all that, ma'am." But Evelyn kept the phone on. Elena came from behind the counter. "You're harassing her. You wouldn't ask any of us that." The young couple nodded in agreement. The professor stood, leaning on his cane. Evelyn remained unfazed. She took another sip of her coffee. Miller muttered, "We'll follow up." Evelyn looked up at him. "Please do." Kane hesitated, then turned and walked out. They left, but the heavy silence they created lingered. The cafe slowly returned to its normal rhythm. Yet, an invisible shift had occurred. Evelyn reached for her fork. Her croissant was now cold. Outside, the morning fog was lifting. Inside, a storm was just beginning. She reopened her laptop. A report number blinked on a DOJ monitor somewhere, waiting for what was to come next. The next Sunday morning, the sun rose over the red brick rooftops of Ravenwood, casting a warm glow on the Morning Brew. A small sign on Evelyn's usual table now read, reserved for Dr. Reed. Inside, Elena and Mateo greeted her with warm, weary smiles. In the 48 hours that had passed, their little coffee shop had become something far bigger, a symbol, a spark, a battleground for justice and dignity. Evelyn sipped her coffee, the quiet hum of the espresso machine and the distant sound of morning traffic grounding her. She had no desire for fame, yet her actions had resonated deeply. The truth of what had happened, the profiling, the injustice, her quiet resolve, had spread far beyond the shop's walls. 2 days ago, she was just a customer. Now, she was trending across the nation. The confrontation had started with something as simple as a receipt. Officers Miller and Kane had accused her of loitering, of failing to prove her purchase. Evelyn had stood her ground. She hadn't raised her voice or fled. Instead, she had made one critical call. "I'm calling someone who holds you accountable," she had said. And then Jennifer Adams had arrived. The assistant director from the DOJ's Civil Rights Division had entered like a thunderclap, her badge out, her voice clear and commanding. In a single sentence, she turned the tide. The officers, full of misplaced bravado, just moments before, found themselves retreating under the weight of federal authority. Since then, everything had changed. The video, captured by Miller's own body cam and leaked online, went viral within hours. By lunchtime, national news had picked up the story, and the public responded with a roar. Hashtags like hashtag Stand With Evelyn, hashtag Receipt of Justice, and hashtag Black Female Executive trended across all social media platforms. Commentators praised her composure. Journalists dug into her background, and a 2022 profile from Forbes detailing her work as CEO of Quantum Dynamics and her efforts to mentor young women in STEM resurfaced. Her calm demeanor in the face of injustice became a blueprint for modern leadership. She hadn't sought to be a symbol, but the world had chosen her as one. At the Ravenwood Police Department, the fallout was swift. Officer Miller resigned, citing personal reasons. Kane was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. Internal Affairs reopened dozens of past complaints. Chief Hernandez issued a generic press statement, but the public wasn't satisfied. Community groups rallied. Legal aid clinics launched hotlines for victims of similar incidents. Civil rights organizations flooded city council meetings with demands for reform. A rally, organized under the banner "Justice is Brewing," was scheduled for the following Saturday at the courthouse. Posters featuring Evelyn's silhouette holding a coffee cup appeared on storefronts and lampposts. Through it all, Evelyn remained quiet, not out of fear, but out of clarity. She had said what needed to be said in that moment. Now, her role was to listen, to support, and to prepare for what came next. At the Morning Brew, the change was obvious. Tourists now came not for coffee, but for photos at the now-famous corner table. Reporters interviewed patrons, staff, even the mail carrier. The energy was electric, but Evelyn missed the quiet. On that Sunday morning, the quiet finally returned. Elena slid a fresh croissant beside her cup. Mateo nodded from the counter, giving her space. Outside, the town began to stir, unaware that Evelyn's name was once again in the morning's New York Times, this time under the headline, "From Cafe to Catalyst: How One Woman Sparked a Movement." A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Jennifer Adams entered the cafe, her presence now familiar. "Dr. Reed," she greeted warmly. Evelyn smiled. "Didn't expect to see you here again so soon." "Neither did I," Jennifer replied, taking a seat across from her. "But I thought you should know, this case is gaining traction. The DOJ is expanding the investigation. This isn't going to stop with Ravenwood." Evelyn nodded. "Good. It shouldn't." Jennifer hesitated, then leaned in. "You've become the face of something bigger, Evelyn. People are listening. What do you want to do with that?" The question hung in the air like steam from a fresh cup of coffee. Evelyn glanced around the shop. The old professor doing his crossword, the couple sharing a laugh, the teenage barista restocking oat milk. Life, resilient and stubborn, continued. She looked back at Jennifer. "I don't want a podium," she said. "I want results. I want young girls of color to sit in any cafe, any boardroom, any courtroom and never have to prove they belong. Jennifer smiled. Then let's get to work. Evelyn took one last sip, savoring the warmth. She wasn't just a CO anymore. She wasn't just a customer with a laptop and a cup of black coffee. She was a catalyst. Outside, the sun rose higher over Ravenwood. And inside the morning brew, justice like coffee, was brewing.